Good day, everyone. Today we're going to learn about resizing backgrounds for rectangle scrappers. This really does not apply to square scrappers because most papers are created in square and they work perfectly for square scrappers, but rectangle scrappers have to deal with taking backgrounds that are square and making them work on rectangle pages. And how you deal with it is going to be different for different papers, and I have here 3 different kinds of papers to show you for samples. I generally don't have a whole lot of problems when I scrap because I tend to use papers like this crumpled paper where resizing it and changing it do not affect the way the paper looks. You can see I brought this paper into my rectangular layout, and you can see that this bounding box, you may have to zoom in and out, but you can see that the bounding box for the square paper goes way beyond the rectangle paper. And for me, because I use this kind of paper most often, I simply grab the bounding box and bring it in and go ahead and reshape it so it just fits the edges. And it looks fine stretched that way because of the kind of paper it is. Your other choice, I'm going to hit undo, is to just go ahead and bring the paper in just so it covers the edges without making it disproportionate. Of course, if you have a paper that has an edging around the edge, a lot of papers have that, you won't want to just leave your paper like this. You can leave your paper like this if you don't care about the edges. This particular paper doesn't have those edges, but most often I will just bring my papers in and quickly resize it like that, and I will be on my way. Let me get another kind of paper. This one is a striped paper, and let me bring that on into my layout, close out my original. Now once again you can see the bounding box goes way out into the gray area to show that the paper is not all visible. And in this instance, with striped papers, once again I'll use striped papers a lot because if I resize it, the stripes don't look all that bad, a little bit thinner. Once again, if you want to keep the stripes in its original proportionate sizes, just resize it just down to where the edges match, and you'll have this left over at the top or bottom. Of course, as stated in the last one, if you have grungy edges around your paper, you're not going to have any grungy edges on the bottom if you resize in this matter. But just to show you that there is no difference really with striped papers, I can grab the edges and bring them in, and my striped paper still looks just fine. However, there are some papers that you cannot do that with. I generally don't use these papers very often. This isn't the best paper for scrapping. I just threw a brush on here so that we could see how you can work with a paper like this. And I'm giving these as a sample so that you can play with them, but this paper with the flowers on it is really not that good of a paper. I just took this solid color paper and added a brush to it. If you get a paper like this that has a pattern, that it might matter if you resize and squish. If I made this smaller, it's going to change the size of my flower. To fix this problem, sometimes you can use this workaround. I'm going to resize the paper to where it is just at the edges. Now I didn't change it proportionately, so my flower isn't any skinnier than it was in the original paper. However, I have, you can see from this bounding box, it hanging down here over the edge, and I don't have a line of flowers at the bottom. So I'm going to move this up. I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm just going to select an area between the flowers, and I want to press Ctrl J on my keyboard, and you'll see now I have a new layer with the bottom line. And I can, now I don't have the top line, and so I'm going to go back to my original paper and just bring it down, and you'll see now that I have a line all the way around my paper with that pattern. However, if you look closely, you can see that this area in here, I can't select that, or you can't see it, but this area right down in here below where my mouse is not merged together very well. That is easy to fix. I'm going to click on the top layer that just has this bottom portion, right click and choose merge down, and now the two papers are one. I'm going to go over here with my clone tool and activate it, and now if you hold down with your Alt key, you'll see your cursor changes, and you can click down right above that line, and that's going to be a reference point for the clone tool. That is where the clone tool is going to begin copying from. Now with the without holding down anything, I can click down with my left mouse button and draw along that line. Let me zoom in as I draw. Can you see that line? And now that line is just going to disappear, and because I'm using crumpled paper, I got a little bit too close. What I need to do is select, because I don't know if you saw, let me go back, a little bit of the flower showed up. So I hit undo, and I'm going to just pick another reference point, and I can use my arrow keys to make my brush smaller, choose another reference point, and then get right on. Oh, see, now that's not working. So you just hit the undo button. I'm going to choose another reference point out in here where I'm not going to be copying that flower. And as you can see, you can get these papers to blend together. I see I have some of the flower that got captured here, so I'm going to pick another reference point and go over that area. And now you can see the lines all gone. I have some repeating here. I'm going to go ahead and choose another reference point and get rid of some of that repeating that's going on. There, now you can see my paper looks fine, and this of course only works on certain kinds of papers. There may be some papers that would be nearly impossible to resize like this. Those kinds of papers, I would hope that the designers might offer them in two sizes to help rectangle scrappers. So I hope that this has enabled you to understand better how to resize for rectangle pages, and if you have any questions, well, I certainly ask. If you need to show me a certain kind of paper to see if I have any ideas on how it might be utilized, please certainly ask, and I'll do my best to help.